How did a show that was making $600 million in 2001 end up getting canceled 5 years later? And which episode was it where the COVID-fighting, MMA commentating heavyweight Joe Rogan thought they took it too far? Before the multi-millionaire comedian was an early adopter of home radio shows, his claim to fame was hosting a little show called Fear Factor. But despite Rogan's tough guy reputation and sticking through 148 episodes of adrenaline-rushing reality TV, something eventually broke the host and the show. And believe it or not, it had nothing to do with the fact that the show led to 2 people dying, something we're gonna get to later in the video. To understand the breaking point, we need to understand the show and how the entire television industry was very different back in the early 2000s. This was a time when reality TV was the shit. The Simple Life, Jersey Shore, Laguna Beach, Run's House, all probably bring back some heavy nostalgia for anyone around the same age as me. Among these popular shows, game shows and scripted TV began to be on a back burner as executives were looking for fresh-faced nobodies to turn into the next big star. And the only way to do that back then was to be extreme. This was before YouTube and TikTok turned the entire world into clout-chasing zombies who can go viral at any moment in time with a single swipe of their finger. And the only way to go viral back then was finding your way into a scheduled television slot. And so, it was NBC who created Fear Factor, a reality television game show where contestants competed in daring stunts for $50,000. Now, that may not seem like a lot when we have people like Mr. Beast giving away cars, houses, and $500,000 to random contestants in YouTube videos. But back then, $50,000 was worth a lot more. And this is why the competitions had to be, well, fear-inducing. And we're not talking Mr. Beast type of competitions of hide and seek and games of tag. We're talking warm coffins, milking goats with your mouth, spitting it into a cup and then drinking it, eating African cave-dwelling spiders, eating reindeer balls, and tons of other survival stunts and gross out all-you-can-eat buffets. Damn, I almost puked just saying that. Comment down below which one of these you do for 50 grand. To front this insane show, they plucked Joe Rogan, a comedian who landed a supporting role on the sitcom News Radio. The up-and-coming personality jumped at the chance to boost his career, and he was clearly the perfect fit to host. He's tough, charismatic, and motivational. Just what you need for a show where people are pushed to the edge of their limits. During its initial run from 2001 until 2006, the show would earn NBC a cool $600 million in ad revenue, which is worth $900 million today if we calculate inflation. That's how popular the show was. However, despite its initial success, the data was showing that audiences weren't interested in reruns. And as the show continued to air consistently over the course of 5 years, the audiences craved bigger and more daring action, and so they happily obliged. That's why Rogan, standing by on set as the host, would become shocked at the risks being taken while simultaneously becoming bored with the repetitiveness.
After a while, it's just like, Jesus Christ, how many animal can you serve people?
Right.
How many times can you throw them off buildings?
Yeah, it's enough already.
While stunts involving helicopters and bungee cords left Rogan worried that it was only a matter of time until someone ended up dead.
I felt uncomfortable with a lot of the shit. They know how to do it. Like, these stunt guys are top of the food chain. But they were doing some sketchy shit. Like, one of them, we had these people chained to a tree with bungee cords that were attached to a helicopter. Okay,
Wow.
And they had to figure out the right locks to unlock the bungee cord or the straps that keep them to the tree. And then as soon as they do, they undo the strap and they go fucking shooting out into space, into the center of this gigantic canyon, and they're bouncing underneath this helicopter.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, like, this doesn't... If we could do this 1,000 times, one of them, someone's going to die.
And Fear Factor did lead to some deaths, believe it or not. No one ever died on the US version of Fear Factor, despite all of the insane, death-defying stunts and intense allergic reactions. But the same cannot be said for events that rose from the show's popularity. A Thai pop star by the name of Vaikun Buntanam, sorry if I mispronounced that, who was just 22 years old, ended up dying from a massive brain injury after being hit in the head with a 44-pound barrel during a Fear Factor event at the Bangkok International Trade and Exhibition Center. It was said that the accident was caused by the carelessness of the crane operator. In its heyday, Fear Factor also inspired some fans of the show to attempt similar stunts at home. In 2012, the Cape Cod Times reported that 32-year-old Edward Archibald of Florida died after eating roaches in a competition to win a snake. Many believe that eating insects in the contest was solely due to the Fear Factor phenomenon, while several experts blamed show shows like Fear Factor and MTV's Jackass for a brief rise in dangerous stunts performed by everyday people, often leading to injuries and or fatalities. So yeah, it's not really surprising why the show was canceled, right? But wait, we haven't even gotten to the worst part yet, and why Joe Rogan himself claimed that the show took it way too far. Like they say, what goes up must come down, and eventually the ratings were beginning to dwindle, the stunts were diminishing returns, and the sales of DVD box sets, which was a viable revenue stream at the time, were unimpressive to say the least. It would seem as if the audiences were fatigued with the oversaturation as well.
What it was the show had to get more and more extreme, and it was very dangerous. Like, it was freaking me out.
And so, the show would eventually get canceled in 2006, but not for the first time. The second time the show was canceled is really what led to the reality TV legend to be done with them once and for all. Because gradually, reruns of the show made an impressive dent in ratings on NBC's sister network, Chilled, many years later. The viewership hardly compared to the heyday of the Rogan-fronted Stuntathon, but it was enough to suggest the market had developed a thirst. Absence does make the heart grow fonder, and so in 2011, the series was revived. Initially, Joe Rogan didn't want to come back. He had become disillusioned with the production of the show, but he claimed he needed more money to support his recently born 2 children.
It was a big deal that it was going to come back, but I immediately regretted it. Like, immediately. I was like, oh my God, I have a job again. The fuck did I do? I was just having children then, you know? Like,
and you wanted to...
Yeah, my kids were real young, and I was like, I need, like... When you have a kid... I had an older daughter, but I was already paid for most of that. You have to think about 2 children, and you think about 2 children that are, like, at the time 2 and 1. You're like, oh my God, like, this is serious.
Yeah,
like I have to make.
You have 18 years.
Yeah, I have to make a lot of money, and then I think like all the money I squirreled away from the original season of Fear Factor. That took care of my family for a long time, and it'll probably be okay. I felt like this overwhelming responsibility to squirrel away more money.
More money.
But then once I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, this is a mistake.
Yeah,
this is a mistake.
But NBC was determined to take this revival to the next level, which they did in the worst way possible. There was one episode that killed the show, an episode that went so far that it was pulled before transmission.
It's not fun. And then we got canceled because we served people.
Was that the final straw?
Yeah, they had to drink donkey.
And that was too much.
That was it.
Interesting.
TMZ saved me.
As gross as that already sounds, you're not going to even believe the next part. Whichever one they chose had to be drunk without vomiting if they wanted to progress to the next round. It's easy to judge those who participate in the gross out challenges, but even Rogan conceded that the temptation of 50 grand for 1 pint of donkey is a hard offer to turn down.
I would have done it when I was broke. I would have eaten an animal. I would have let you throw puke in my face.
Right. There are people that we know will do it now.
Oh,
you know? Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody that works at the store.
Yeah, we'll all do it now, and a lot of us have money.
But for executives, this was beyond the pale, and so the show was canceled once again before audiences and advertisers could demand Fear Factor's removal. But I want to hear what you guys think about that. Would you have drunk it for 50 grand? Now the show would once again be revived, but this time it was for a short-lived 2 seasons starting in 2017. Rogan did not return, however, and with the money he was earning, it would take more than NBC had to get him back. It's funny to think that after all Joe Rogan has seen and done, from DMT trips to seeing people break their necks in the octagon, it was a tall, warm glass of donkey that was the final straw. The host for the third and hopefully final return of Fear Factor was none other than Ludacris, who frankly doesn't fit the beefcake mold that Rogan left behind.
They're doing a new one with Ludacris. It's kind of that way. There's a new Fear Factor. And Ludacris, the rapper, is the host.
All right.
And like some of the fears are like forgetting your cell phone somewhere. Right? Isn't it something stupid like that? And they don't have to eat anything gross, which was it was really dumb to keep that out because that was one of the most popular parts of the original series.
Because as much as Fear Factor made Rogan who he is today, Rogan's presence and mix of easygoing comedy with strongman confidence were what the show needed as a frontman. But now that's all in the past, and it seems like Joe Rogan, more than anyone, would like it to stay there. Unless you want to see it make a comeback. In that case, share your ideas for stunts in the comments. If you're one of the many fans of Fear Factor, then leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to get the latest video from me. Also, make sure you guys DM me on Instagram at Louaista if you guys need a canvas like the one on the screen. I could do any picture or any album you'd like. All you gotta do is DM me at Louaista, send me a picture of the one you want to do, and if you want to see that I'm not a scammer, go ahead and check my highlights for hundreds of samples of my work and hundreds of reviews of my customers who have posted me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.